The book of Proverbs is one of the most valued sections of the Bible, renowned for its enduring wisdom and moral guidance. These sayings are attributed to King Solomon, often regarded as the wisest man to ever live. Proverbs explores profound aspects of life, human nature, and our relationship with God. It offers guidance for navigating life's challenges, touching on themes such as wisdom, discipline, justice, and the importance of living with integrity. But why do these ancient teachings, written so long ago, still hold significance today, especially in an age where we have abundant information but often lack true wisdom? Solomon's words cut through the noise, offering truths that transcend time and culture. Solomon wasn't just another king. He was famous for his immense wealth, power, and most of all, his unmatched wisdom. His Proverbs, collected in the Old Testament, are more than just old sayings. They serve as a guide meant to help future generations live godly lives. These short, sharp statements turn deep truths into memorable life lessons that still speak to our everyday struggles. Whether it's advice on relationships, work, or how we should speak, Solomon's wisdom is just as useful today as it was in ancient Israel. In this video, we will explore the meaning behind these proverbs and show how their wisdom can be applied in today's world. But before we dive into the rich wisdom of Proverbs, I invite you to subscribe to this channel if you love diving into the Bible and uncovering ancient wisdom that still rings true today. Subscribing will keep you up to date with all our future content. Our aim is to create a thoughtful community where we explore Scripture together, drawing inspiration and finding practical ways to apply these timeless truths to our everyday lives. To truly understand the wisdom in Solomon's Proverbs, we first need to get to know the man behind these timeless teachings. Solomon wasn't born wise. It was something he gained through a deep and meaningful encounter with God. His journey toward wisdom is one of the most pivotal moments in the Bible, setting the stage for the teachings that would define his reign as king and his contributions to Scripture. As the son of King David and Bathsheba, Solomon was chosen by God to lead Israel. His path to the throne wasn't easy, but it was his humility and desire for discernment that made him one of the greatest kings in history. Solomon's story begins during a time when Israel was united. His father, King David, had secured the nation's borders, established Jerusalem as its capital, and built a strong, stable kingdom. However, as David's life was coming to an end, the question of who would succeed him loomed large. Even though Solomon wasn't David's oldest son, David had promised him the throne, sensing that God had a special plan for him. After some political maneuvering, Solomon finally became king. Solomon's reign was forever marked by a life-changing moment that not only transformed his own life, but also shaped the course of biblical history. In 1 Kings 3 verses 5 to 15, we learn about Solomon's dream encounter with God, where God gave him a once-in-a-lifetime offer. Solomon could ask for anything he wanted. This moment reveals much about Solomon's heart. Instead of asking for a long life, wealth, or victory over his enemies, things a young, inexperienced king might understandably want, Solomon asked for wisdom. More specifically, he asked for an understanding heart to judge the people and to discern between good and evil. 1 Kings 3 verse 9. His request came from a place of humility and a deep sense of responsibility. God was pleased with this request and not only gave Solomon incredible wisdom, but also promised him riches, honor, and, if he remained faithful, a long life. This moment is key because it shows what true wisdom is. It starts with humility. Solomon's desire for an understanding heart shows that he knew his limitations and realized that human wisdom alone wouldn't be enough to lead God's people. Essentially, he was admitting that real discernment comes from God. This idea runs throughout the entire book of Proverbs. The repeated reminder that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, Proverbs 9 verse 10, reflects Solomon's personal experience. He knew that wisdom isn't just about being smart or practical. It's about recognizing God's authority and our reliance on him. Solomon's wisdom became legendary, and soon after his dream, he had a chance to prove it. One of the most famous stories of his wisdom is found in 1 Kings 3 verses 16 to 28, where two women came to him, both claiming to be the mother of a baby. With no way to test for DNA or use modern science, Solomon had to rely on his God-given wisdom. He proposed cutting the baby in half, knowing that the real mother would rather give up her child than see it harmed. This clever move not only solved the dispute, but also cemented Solomon's reputation as a wise and fair king. However, Solomon's wisdom wasn't just for his benefit. It was a blessing for all of Israel. During his reign, the nation experienced unprecedented peace and prosperity. His wisdom extended far beyond making decisions in court. It influenced his governance, diplomacy, and even the arts. He built alliances with other nations, including a strategic marriage to Pharaoh's daughter, which strengthened ties with Egypt. His reign also saw the construction of the magnificent temple in Jerusalem, a project that had been his father's dream but was brought to life through Solomon's leadership and wisdom. Solomon's wisdom drew attention from far beyond Israel's borders. One of the most well-known stories is the visit of the Queen of Sheba, as told in 1 Kings 10. After hearing about Solomon's wisdom and wealth, she traveled a long distance to test him with hard questions. She brought lavish gifts, but after seeing Solomon's wisdom firsthand, she declared that not even half of his greatness had been told to her. Solomon's wisdom, given by God, became a global testament to the power of seeking divine guidance over chasing after worldly power and riches. However, even Solomon's wisdom had its limits. As he grew older, the Bible tells us that his many foreign wives turned his heart away from God. Despite his wisdom, Solomon's later years were marked by spiritual decline, and after his death, the kingdom eventually fractured. This serves as a stark reminder that wisdom, while a powerful gift, must be paired with ongoing devotion to God. Even the wisest person in history wasn't immune to the temptations of the world. In the book of Ecclesiastes, traditionally linked to Solomon, we see a man reflecting on how empty life can feel when it's lived without God at the center. This reflection stands in sharp contrast to the energetic wisdom of Proverbs, giving us a full picture of Solomon's understanding of life. Solomon's life helps us gain a greater understanding of the Proverbs he shared. His request for wisdom was a crucial turning point that influenced both his rule and his legacy. However, his later downfall serves as a reminder that wisdom alone is not sufficient without a continuous, faithful relationship with God. Now, let's shift our attention to Solomon's Proverbs. Number 1. Proverbs on relationships. Solomon's wisdom wasn't limited to lofty philosophical concepts. It also provided practical advice on navigating real-life relationships. In the book of Proverbs, he offers clear guidance on how to build and maintain relationships that honor God, emphasizing the importance of love, loyalty, and integrity in our interactions with others, whether it be family, friends, or marriage. According to Solomon, relationships are a primary way we practice wisdom, and the quality of our relationships often reflects how wise we truly are. When it comes to friendships, Solomon is straightforward about the kind of people we should surround ourselves with. Proverbs 13 verse 20 says, "Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm." The people we spend time with, Solomon suggests, significantly impact our character and decisions. Good friends encourage our growth, hold us accountable, and share our values. On the other hand, bad company can lead us astray and into trouble. Solomon advises against forming close bonds with people who are dishonest, quick to anger, or constantly stirring up conflict. Instead, he urges us to choose friends who embody wisdom, humility, and kindness. People who challenge us to become the best versions of ourselves. Loyalty and trust are central themes in Solomon's relationship advice. Proverbs 17 verse 17 states, "A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for a time of adversity." Solomon teaches that true friendship is defined by loyalty, particularly during tough times. Friends who disappear when challenges arise are not genuine friends. Solomon recognized the value of surrounding ourselves with dependable, supportive, and loving people, especially in life's most difficult moments. These kinds of relationships are rare but invaluable, and Solomon encourages us to nurture them with care and intentionality. Solomon's wisdom about family is equally practical. One of his most famous verses on parenting is Proverbs 22 verse 6. "Start children off on the way they should go, and even when they are old, they will not turn from it." Solomon understood the immense responsibility that comes with raising children. Parents are called to teach their children to love wisdom and embrace discipline from an early age, shaping not just behavior, but their hearts to follow God's ways. He also emphasizes the importance of respect within the family. Children should honor their parents, and parents must guide their children with love and wisdom. In the area of marriage, Solomon offers insight into both the joys and challenges of this crucial relationship. Proverbs 18 verse 22 says, "He who finds a wife finds what is good and receives favor from the Lord." Solomon recognizes that a marriage rooted in love and mutual respect is a gift from God. However, he also warns against contentious relationships, advising that it is better to live in a small corner of the roof than with a quarrelsome spouse. Proverbs 21 verse 9. For Solomon, a successful marriage is not solely about love. It requires wisdom, patience, and humility. Number 2, Proverbs on work, success, and wealth. The book of Proverbs offers profound insights into the role of work, success, and wealth in living a meaningful life. For Solomon, success was not the ultimate goal, but a way to honor God and live with integrity. His wisdom on these subjects goes beyond just making money or gaining status. It focuses on hard work, honesty, and maintaining a balanced attitude toward wealth. Solomon understood that while success and wealth can be blessings, they come with responsibilities and temptations that require wisdom to navigate. One of Solomon's key teachings about work is the importance of diligence. In Proverbs 6 verses 6 to 11, he uses the example of the ant to illustrate this concept. "Go to the ant, you sluggard. Consider its ways and be wise. It has no commander, no overseer or ruler. Yet it stores its provisions in summer and gathers its food at harvest." Here, Solomon contrasts the hard-working ant with the laziness of the sluggard, encouraging us to cultivate self-motivation and foresight. The ant's wisdom lies in its ability to work hard without supervision and plan for the future. This teaches us that diligence is not just about working hard for the sake of it, but about taking charge of our lives and preparing wisely for what lies ahead. Solomon also highlights that success naturally follows disciplined, consistent effort. In Proverbs 10 verse 4, he writes, "Lazy hands make for poverty, but diligent hands bring wealth." The connection between hard work and prosperity is a recurring theme in Proverbs, but Solomon does not promote materialism. Instead, he sees diligence as a reflection of good character. Hard work, when done with integrity and purpose, brings more than financial rewards. It leads to personal growth, fulfillment, and the ability to help others. Solomon's message is clear. Success achieved through honest effort is valuable, but relying on laziness or dishonesty will ultimately lead to failure. However, Solomon also warns about the dangers of obsessing over wealth. In Proverbs 23 verses 4 to 5, he writes, "Do not wear yourself out to get rich. Do not trust your own cleverness. Cast but a glance at riches, and they are gone. They will surely sprout wings and fly off to the sky like an eagle." This is a powerful reminder of the fleeting nature of material wealth. Even with all his riches, Solomon knew that money is not a solid foundation for life. It can vanish just as quickly as it comes. For Solomon, the key is balance. Hard work and wealth are good, but pursuing money at the expense of everything else can lead to spiritual and moral downfall. Another important lesson from Solomon's Proverbs is the idea of generosity. Proverbs 11 verses 24 to 25 states, "One person gives freely, yet gains even more. Another withholds unduly, but comes to poverty. A generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed." This teaching turns conventional wisdom on its head. True prosperity comes not from hoarding wealth, but from sharing it. Solomon understood that generosity creates a ripple effect, blessing not only the recipient but also the giver. Those who are stingy often find themselves empty, even if they have plenty of money. This principle goes beyond finances. It also applies to sharing our time, talents, and energy to help others. By doing so, we reflect God's generosity, recognizing that everything we have is ultimately a gift from Him. Solomon also speaks against greed and dishonesty in the pursuit of wealth. Proverbs 13 verse 11 warns, "Dishonest money dwindles away, but whoever gathers money little by little makes it grow." Gaining wealth through dishonest means, whether by cheating, exploiting others, or using unethical business practices, will ultimately lead to downfall. Solomon emphasizes the importance of earning wealth in a way that honors God and respects others. The steady, honest accumulation of wealth stands in sharp contrast to the get-rich-quick mentality prevalent in many cultures. Solomon knew that wealth gained through hard work and integrity brings true satisfaction, while wealth obtained dishonestly often comes with guilt, shame, and eventual loss. Reflecting on Solomon's wisdom about work and wealth, it is clear that success is not merely about material gain. True success, according to Proverbs, is a life filled with diligence, integrity, generosity, and balance. Solomon's teachings encourage us to see work as a way to honor God, contribute to society, and build a purposeful life. He challenges us to view wealth not as an end goal, but as a tool, something that can either be used to bless others or trap us in greed and pride. Number 3. Proverbs on speech and communication. The words we speak hold immense power. They can heal or hurt, build up or break down, and reveal wisdom or expose foolishness. In the book of Proverbs, Solomon frequently emphasizes the importance of thoughtful and wise speech. To him, our words are not just a means of communication. They reflect our character and what's in our hearts. Solomon understood that words carry weight, and how we use them can have lasting effects on ourselves and others. His wisdom offers timeless advice on using our words to promote truth, peace, and righteousness. One of Solomon's most powerful teachings on speech comes in Proverbs 18 verse 21. "The tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit." This verse captures the essence of Solomon's message. Our words can either bring life or cause destruction. Words can inspire, comfort, and heal, but they can also wound, deceive, and divide. The way we speak truly matters, whether in casual conversations, debates, or conflicts. The words we choose impact our relationships, reputation, and spiritual health. In Proverbs 10 verse 19, Solomon adds another layer to his teaching. Sin is not ended by multiplying words, but the prudent hold their tongues. Here, Solomon reminds us that wisdom often means knowing when to stay quiet. In a world where people often speak without thinking, Solomon highlights the virtue of restraint. Talking too much, especially without careful consideration, can lead to trouble, whether through gossip, slander, or saying something we later regret. His advice to hold one's tongue reveals a deep understanding of human nature. Silence, when used wisely, can prevent misunderstandings, calm conflicts, and demonstrate self-control. Sometimes, listening is more valuable than speaking. Gossip, in particular, is a harmful misuse of words that Solomon strongly condemns. Proverbs 16 verse 28 warns, "A perverse person stirs up conflict, and a gossip separates close friends." Solomon knew the destructive power of gossip. It tears apart relationships and communities. While gossip may seem harmless or even entertaining, it ultimately destroys trust and sows division. His wisdom remains relevant today. Gossip hurts not only the target but also the one spreading it. Avoiding gossip and steering clear of harmful conversations is a true sign of wisdom and integrity. Honesty is another key theme in Solomon's teachings on speech. He places great importance on telling the truth and warns against the dangers of lying. Proverbs 12 verse 22 says, "The Lord detests lying lips, but he delights in people who are trustworthy." For Solomon, honesty goes beyond moral goodness. It reflects our relationship with God. Lying, whether to gain something or avoid consequences, harms both the liar and those around them. On the other hand, honesty builds trust, strengthens relationships, and aligns us with God's truth. Solomon emphasizes that integrity in our words is a cornerstone of wise living. Solomon also acknowledges that truth must be balanced with grace. In Proverbs 15 verse 1, he teaches, "A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger." This verse highlights the importance of speaking truth in a way that fosters peace and understanding. Even when our words are true, saying them in a harsh or cutting manner can escalate tensions. Conversely, a gentle, thoughtful response can defuse conflict and help resolve issues. Solomon challenges us to be both honest and compassionate, recognizing that how we say something is often just as important as what we say. In short, Solomon's teachings on speech remind us of the power our words hold and the need to use them carefully. Whether we're speaking with family, friends, or strangers, our words can either build up or tear down, heal or hurt. Solomon encourages us to be mindful of what we say, choose our words wisely, and speak in ways that reflect wisdom, integrity, and love. Number 4, Proverbs on moral discipline and conduct. Moral discipline is a central theme in Solomon's Proverbs, where he stresses that wisdom is not just about knowledge, but about living a disciplined, righteous life. To Solomon, wisdom and discipline go hand in hand. Without self-control and the willingness to accept correction, true wisdom remains out of reach. His Proverbs repeatedly emphasize the importance of instruction and correction for moral growth. Through discipline, Solomon teaches us how to align our lives with God's principles, avoid the traps of foolishness, and live in a way that honors both God and ourselves. One of the clearest statements on discipline comes from Proverbs 12 verse 1. "Whoever loves discipline loves knowledge, but whoever hates correction is stupid." Solomon doesn't mince words here. He uses strong language to emphasize his point. Accepting correction is essential because without it, we cannot grow or improve. Solomon understood that none of us naturally lean toward righteousness. We need guidance, correction, and accountability to stay on the right path. Discipline, whether from God, others, or through self-restraint, is a gift that helps us become wiser and better people. At the heart of moral discipline is self-control, which Solomon speaks about often in his Proverbs. In Proverbs 25 verse 28, he writes, "Like a city whose walls are broken through is a person who lacks self-control." This paints a vivid image. Just as a city without walls is exposed to danger, a person without self-control is vulnerable to temptation and downfall. Self-control isn't just about resisting external temptations. It's about managing our desires, impulses, and emotions. Whether in how we speak, act, or handle relationships, self-control is the foundation of a life built on integrity and wisdom. Linked to self-control is humility, another vital part of moral discipline. Proverbs 11 verse 2 says, "When pride comes, then comes disgrace, but with humility comes wisdom." Solomon warns that pride blinds us to our own mistakes and prevents us from learning. In contrast, humility opens us up to correction and growth. Humility enables us to recognize our need for discipline and accept it without resentment. In this way, humility and discipline work together to keep us on the path to righteousness. Another important aspect of moral discipline is being willing to learn from others, especially wise and godly mentors. Proverbs 13 verse 1 teaches, "A wise son heeds his father's instruction, but a mocker does not respond to rebukes." Solomon often highlights the importance of being teachable and listening to the advice of those who have walked the path of wisdom before us, whether they are parents, teachers, or spiritual leaders. Wise counsel is essential for growing in wisdom. Rejecting such instruction is a clear sign of foolishness, while embracing it leads to a life of wisdom and blessing. Solomon's teachings on moral discipline also emphasize justice and righteousness in how we treat others. Proverbs 21 verse 3 says, "To do what is right and just is more acceptable to the Lord than sacrifice." Here, Solomon reminds us that true righteousness is not just about religious rituals or outward displays of piety. It's about living a life that reflects God's justice and mercy. Moral discipline also involves treating others fairly, with compassion and integrity, and it springs from a heart that is in tune with God's will. In summary, Solomon's Proverbs on moral discipline teach us that wisdom is deeply connected to living a disciplined life. Through self-control, humility, a teachable spirit, and a commitment to justice, we align ourselves with God's will and grow in wisdom. Solomon's wisdom challenges us to embrace discipline, recognizing it as a key to living a righteous life that honors both God and others. Number 5. Proverbs on leadership and governance. Solomon was not only a man of profound wisdom, but also a ruler who applied that wisdom to the difficult task of governing a nation. His Proverbs offer invaluable insights into the qualities that define effective leadership, emphasizing wisdom, justice, and integrity as the core attributes of strong leaders. To Solomon, leadership was not about power or personal gain, but about serving others with fairness and humility. His teachings on leadership provide timeless principles that remain relevant for today's leaders, just as they did for the kings of ancient Israel. One of Solomon's most well-known teachings on leadership is found in Proverbs 16 verse 12. "Kings detest wrongdoing, for a throne is established through righteousness." This verse highlights that true and enduring leadership is founded on doing what is right, both in the eyes of God and for the people. Solomon understood that while corrupt leadership may succeed temporarily, it will eventually collapse. A leader's authority is sustained by their commitment to justice and righteousness. This principle applies not just to kings, but to anyone in a position of authority, whether in business, ministry, or family life. Integrity is another key theme in Solomon's teachings on leadership. Proverbs 29 verse 4 says, "By justice a king gives a country stability, but those who are greedy for bribes tear it down." Solomon warns that leaders driven by greed or dishonesty will ultimately destroy the very institutions they are meant to protect. Leadership, according to Solomon, is a sacred responsibility, and those in power must lead with honesty and fairness, not with selfish ambition. Real leadership is about serving others, not pursuing personal interests. Solomon also emphasizes the need for wise counsel in leadership. Proverbs 11 verse 14 teaches, "For lack of guidance a nation falls, but victory is won through many advisers." Even the wisest leaders need advice from others in order to govern effectively. Good leadership means surrounding yourself with trusted, knowledgeable advisers who can offer valuable perspectives. Solomon himself benefited from the counsel of Israel's elders and understood that isolating oneself or refusing to listen to advice is a sure path to failure. This teaches the importance of collaboration, humility, and seeking guidance in leadership. The relationship between leaders and their people is also addressed by Solomon in Proverbs 29 verse 2. "When the righteous thrive, the people rejoice. When the wicked rule, the people groan." Solomon recognized that the well-being of the people is directly tied to the righteousness of their leaders. A good leader brings joy, stability, and prosperity, while a corrupt or oppressive leader brings misery and unrest. This serves as a powerful reminder that leadership is not about personal gain, but about creating an environment where justice, peace, and growth are possible for all. Finally, Solomon warns about the dangers of pride in leadership. Proverbs 16 verse 18 says, "Pride goes before destruction, a haughty spirit before a fall." Leaders who are consumed with pride and believe they are above correction are headed for disaster. Solomon's wisdom calls for humility in leadership, reminding us that even the most powerful leaders are accountable to God. Humility helps leaders stay grounded, listen to others, and lead with wisdom and grace. In summary, Solomon's teachings on leadership offer valuable lessons for anyone in a position of authority. He highlights the importance of righteousness, integrity, wise counsel, humility, and a deep sense of responsibility toward those we lead. True leadership, according to Solomon, is about serving others and creating a just, peaceful, and thriving community. Number 6, the fear of the Lord. Among all the themes in the book of Proverbs, none is more foundational than the fear of the Lord. For Solomon, this is not just an idea. It is the very core upon which all wisdom is built. Proverbs 1 verse 7 famously states, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction." This verse sets the tone for the entire book, making it clear that the fear of the Lord is the starting point for any genuine pursuit of wisdom. But what does it mean to fear the Lord, and why does Solomon place such emphasis on it? The fear of the Lord, as Solomon describes it, is not about being scared of God in a way that causes us to avoid him. Instead, it is about having a profound sense of awe and respect for God's power, holiness, and authority. It's recognizing that God is in control of all creation and that his wisdom far surpasses our own. To fear the Lord means humbly acknowledging our dependence on him and understanding that true wisdom comes from aligning our lives with his will. This kind of fear is not paralyzing. Rather, it is liberating, leading us toward a life filled with righteousness and blessings. Throughout Proverbs, Solomon continually emphasizes that the fear of the Lord is the key to understanding everything else in life. Proverbs 9 verse 10 reinforces this, saying, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and knowledge of the Holy One is understanding." Here, Solomon connects the fear of the Lord not just to wisdom, but also to knowing God personally. He teaches that wisdom is not merely about making smart choices. It's about understanding who God is and living in harmony with his character. The more we understand God, the more we understand what it means to live wisely. This understanding shapes how we view the world, how we treat others, and how we make decisions. Living in the fear of the Lord also brings great rewards. Proverbs 22 verse 4 says, "Humility is the fear of the Lord. Its wages are riches and honor and life." Solomon knew that a life rooted in reverence for God leads to true prosperity, not necessarily in terms of material wealth, but in the richness of living according to God's plan. The fear of the Lord brings peace, security, and a deep sense of purpose as we learn to trust God's wisdom rather than relying on our own. Solomon's message is clear. When we put God at the center of our lives, everything else falls into place. The fear of the Lord also acts as a form of protection. Proverbs 19 verse 23 tells us, "The fear of the Lord leads to life. Then one rests content, untouched by trouble." Solomon teaches that those who live with reverence for God can move through life with confidence, knowing that God is watching over them. This does not mean life will be free of challenges, but it does mean that those who fear the Lord can rest assured that God is guiding them. His wisdom encourages us to trust that God, in his infinite wisdom, knows what is best and will lead us down the right path. The wisdom of Solomon is not passive. It demands a response. It calls us to step away from the distractions and trivialities that surround us and to align our hearts with the eternal truths that have shaped lives for millennia. This wisdom is not merely to be admired from afar. It is a call to action, a challenge to embody humility, discipline, and reverence for God in every aspect of our lives. Solomon's words reflect our deepest longings for purpose, peace, and meaning. Now the choice is ours. Will we merely listen, or will we dare to live differently? Today, choose to pursue wisdom as Solomon did, with an open heart and a focused mind. Let these proverbs become more than mere ancient words. Let them form the foundation of a purposeful life, one where every step is guided by the fear of the Lord and each decision is grounded in integrity. This is not a journey for the faint-hearted, but for those willing to embrace something deeper and more enduring. If this speaks to you, take a courageous step. Commit to growing in wisdom and aligning your life with God's plan. Subscribe to this channel to keep walking this path of discovery and transformation. Share this journey with others